Welcome to the April 16, 2025 meeting of the University of Rhode Island Board of Trustees, Academic Affairs and Research Committee. The meeting is being held in person with committee members participating remotely. At this time, I'll conduct a roll call attendance to determine if a quorum is present. Please clearly respond present via WebEx, present via person when your name is called. Neil Kerwin, present via WebEx. Charles Fogarty.
Present via WebEx.
Maria Ducharme. Monica Garnes.
Present via WebEx.
David Martirano. Joseph Matthews.
Present via WebEx.
Christine Bovey.
Present via WebEx.
Mark Parlange.
Present via WebEx.
Okay. A quorum is present. Let me also welcome the chair of our Board of Trustees and the vice chair to this afternoon's meeting. I want to remind all members that for the benefit of our audience and the note taker, please clearly identify yourself when you comment, when you make a motion, or when you second a motion. Participants using WebEx are required to keep their cameras on as remote members, and all persons present at the meeting location must be clearly audible and visible to one another. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge that the University of Rhode Island occupies traditional stomping grounds of the Narragansett Nation and the Niantic people. Are there any proposed amendments to the published agenda? Okay, hearing none. Our first order of business then is the approval of the minutes. May I have a motion that the committee approve the minutes of the February 5, 2025 meeting?
Joseph Matthews, so moved.
Charlie Fogarty, second.
Thank you. Any discussion of the motion? All right, there being no discussion, I ask for a voice vote. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, no. Any abstentions? Well, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is item number 2, the report of our Chief Academic Officer. Barbara?
Great. Thank you very much. Great to see everybody here. And I have some slides for you. If Michelle, we could get the slides, that would be great. It's a busy time of year here at the university as we are approaching graduation. So you can imagine that things are humming. If we go to the next slide, please. I'm going to talk today about 4 areas. One, to give an update on something that's called the Leadership Team for Federal Actions. Another is updates related to searches, the feasibility study for possible URI medical school, and also our enrollment, and then also a review of the progress of student achievement metrics and academic efforts in support of student success relative to our KPIs. If we could go to the next slide, please. So to start us off, I want to start with an update of the Leadership Team for Federal Actions. And this is a group that was appointed by President Parlange earlier this year to track federal developments. As you know, a lot has been going on. And the leadership team includes representatives from the academic affairs area, administration and finance, the research community, and diversity, human resources, communications, government relations, as well as the president's office. And we're meeting about 2 to 3 times per week. And what the team does is it monitors federal actions, both monitoring and assessing what the implications are of federal actions and developments. And we make recommendations to the president's executive council, excuse me, regarding how to best position the university to sustain our teaching and research missions and our financial solvency for the long term. And we are principally focused on 4 buckets, if you will. Research, namely the termination of federal grants and proposed changes to F&A rates. We have the Department of Education. We're looking at that relative to the focus on financial aid, including Pell Grants and student loans, now that we know that that agency is dismantled. We're looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as immigration and international travel. And a big thanks to our Office of Global Initiatives for all the work that they are doing to support our international students, staff, and faculty. And so much of the leadership team has participated in, last month, we did a university town hall, and we responded to questions and concerns that came from our community, both faculty, staff, and students. And the event was moderated by a faculty member from poli-sci, and that was Professor Mark Hutchison. And he's also chair of the political science department. And at the town hall, we had President Parlange. He made it very clear that we are not changing our strategic plan. We have a strategic plan that does include fostering an inclusive culture, and we're not changing our university values. We also encourage our faculty to keep doing what they are doing. And while we are monitoring the federal developments and want to ensure that the university remains in compliance with federal and state law, we are not changing anything preemptively. The leadership team also sends out weekly communications available to faculty, staff, and students with federal updates, and maintains a website where our community can see the latest information and guidance. And we've gotten a lot of compliments on the website from both people within our community as well as people who are external to our community. So next slide, please. Excuse me. I also want to update you on searches. 2 quick updates. For the university librarian, we recently hosted 3 finalists on campus for visits this past week, keeping the search on track, and we plan to conclude that by early May. And then we also have the search going on for the dean of our College of Environment and Life Sciences, and we are hosting the finalists to campus at present. And similarly, we anticipate wrapping that up by early May at the latest. So our hope is for the finalists for both searches to start sometime in the summer or early fall. Next slide, please. Also, an update on the feasibility study for a possible URI medical school. We could have the next slide. Thank you. And as I shared with you in our February meeting, we selected Trip Umbach to conduct the feasibility study into a possible medical school here at the university after a competitive RFP process. And Trip Umbach is well underway, having spent much of February and March conducting interviews with stakeholders, and that includes members of the Legislative Study Commission, leaders from URI, leaders from the State House, and leaders from healthcare institutions across the state. And on March 17th, we had Trip Umbach provide an update to the study commission, and that is co-chaired by President Parlange and Senator Lauria, as well as which several URI leaders, including Board of Trustees, are also members. We can go to the next slide, please. And I've included a couple of slides from the Trip Umbach presentation to the study commission. And they spent much of their update debriefing on their stakeholder interviews, and they detailed the attributes of URI that the stakeholders identified as supporting a potential College of Medicine. And these include our existing healthcare disciplines, our College of Healthcare, our College of Health Sciences, nursing, and pharmacy, all provide a very strong foundation for interdisciplinary medical education. They also heard repeatedly that URI is a university on the move, and that includes our achievement of R1 status this year. And we have strong support across the state with existing relationships with hospitals, community centers, and other healthcare facilities. And our board is also supportive of the URI strengthening our role as a regional healthcare leader. Next slide, please. They also detailed the opportunities that stakeholders had discussed with them in interviews regarding a URI College of Medicine. And these included workforce development and retention, economic growth, improved healthcare access, which we know is a huge area with a focus on primary care right now, and potential philanthropic and public funding to support a medical school. Next slide, please. They also identified several questions that they are still working on to address, and these include attributes of a medical school itself, such as clinical training and student recruitment. One key question is the financial viability of a medical school. How much would a medical school cost to launch as well as to sustain? And also the financial viability also includes considerations for tuition and philanthropy. In terms of moving forward, there are a few additional considerations that were highlighted. We knew going into this that the medical school would require a significant state buy-in and financial investment, and we need to know what's possible and likely on this front and the timeline for it. Trip Umbach will be submitting the final report in June, and it will be provided to the board as well. And so we look forward to a more in-depth discussion when we have the final report in hand. So next slide. Switching gears, I want to move to enrollment update and provide just a quick update as to where we are. And as Dean LaBeauty would say, we are focused on yield, yield, yield. And we have had 3 very successful welcome days. These pictures here give a glimpse into the events and excitement that we've seen across all 3 welcome days. Despite the less than ideal weather, we had a little bit of a gray, gloomy, rainy couple of days, but we had between 3,000 and 4,000 people here on campus each of those days, which is amazing. And I want to give a big shout out to our enrollment team and to all of the colleges who contributed to this success. Related to enrollment, the FAFSA also continues to function as it should, which is a significant help over the last year. We were able to send out over 13,000 aid packages by the first week of March versus last year when we were only able to process 3,000 by April 1st. So this is a huge, significant change. And as of today, we have 2,175 deposits, with the goal of 3,275 for this fall's incoming class, so we are on track. We received a record number of undergraduate applications this year, and all of our colleges are seeing an increase in deposits year over year. So we're very excited about that. Next slide, please. So moving on to updates on our KPIs. And this is relative to strategic priority number 2, which is enhancing student achievement. What we'll do is we'll review retention rates, graduation rates, and the equity gap between Pell and non-Pell students. And we'll start by the retention rates by cohort year, which is before you now. And our goal is to achieve a 90% retention after the first year. And just for your background, a student is considered retained if they are still enrolled as of October 15th of the next academic year. So our goal of 90% retention is ambitious, and we know it becomes harder and harder the closer we come to it. So for example, it's easier to move from 78 to 80% retention than it is to move from 84 to 84.5. So last year's FAFSA challenge underscored the importance of retention and ensuring that students who are here stay here and are successful. So the decline seen on this slide in both first year and second year retention rates is primarily driven by the out-of-state students, which I'll discuss in more detail in the next slide. If we could move to the next slide. So this is the first year retention rates by residency and entering cohort year. And here we see the retention rate by residency, and the dip in the in-state retention seen here is minor. It's hard to read much into it. Even so, we are hoping to reverse it with our focus on student success services, which I'll go into in a little bit. There are also a few factors impacting the retention of the out-of-state students specifically. And we can see that given the economic situation across the country, students tend to be returning home in some situations to benefit from in-state tuition. And that's one of the challenges that we're dealing with. We also know that COVID learning loss and the array of mental health issues that students are confronting today also contribute to out-of-state students returning home for the support that comes with proximity to family. So we are focused on reversing this decline. We included $2 million of requests for academic advisors in our budget request to the state and are actively engaging the state legislature on this critical need. Our tutoring center is working with students to address the continued impact of COVID learning loss. And we are making progress in adding new student housing and improving campus life and sense of belonging for folks here. We can move to the next slide, please. Okay, graduation rates by entering cohort year. So shifting now to graduation rates, we look at graduation rates within 4, 5, and 6 years. Our goal is to achieve 80% 6-year graduation rate. Overall, we are seeing good progress over time. There was a minor dip in the 5-year graduation rate, which we anticipate will be reflected in the 6-year graduation rate next year because of the subsequent influence. On the positive, given the strong growth in the 4th-year graduation rate, we anticipate a corresponding increase in 5- and 6-year graduation rates moving forward. Next slide, please. Moving on to equity gap in graduation rates. Again, our goal is to reduce the equity gap to no more than 5.5% between Pell and non-Pell students. We are moving in the right direction with a lot of work still to do. Our investment in student housing and student success services help with the equity gap, as well as with retention and overall graduation rates. And this is another area where having more academic advisors would be beneficial and is again why we include funding for more advisors in our budget request to the state. As I noted earlier, we are closely tracking federal developments relative to financial aid. The federal government has expressed a commitment to Pell Grants, and we do indeed hope that this continues. Next slide, please. We move to degree conferrals. Last on the KPIs, we track degree conferrals for undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs. Our goal is to graduate 1,400 master's students and 200 PhD students per year. On the graduate front, I want to underscore that we are committed to our graduate programs and are not reducing our graduate admissions at this point in time, which we have seen several other institutions do in response to the uncertainty at the federal level. We also have many new graduate programs starting, including 2 this fall, which is a master's in public health and an online DNP or doctorate in nursing practice. And what will occur is we should see these change as these online programs become available, have people enrolled into them, and then eventually graduate. But we need to see that in about 2 to 3 years out. Next slide, please. We'll move to student success. We have several programs geared towards supporting student success and contribute to retention and graduation rates. The first is the student advising. And this committee knows from previous meetings that we invited NACADA, the National Organization for Academic Advising, to campus last year to conduct a review of our advising services. And the review highlighted several areas where we can and are working to improve. And most importantly, we need to increase the number of advisors. And this is in part of our budget request with the state. We're also reforming our advising model. And I want to thank Dean Luke Beauty and his team for overseeing this process with the involvement of many individuals, faculty, and staff from our colleges. We also are very fortunate to have a terrific early alert team, co-led by Shirley Consuegra and John Cruz. And Early Alert is a referral service that supports undergraduate student success with a focus on academic interventions. And through collaborative work with campus partners, staff reach out to students to provide individual guidance, to help create strategies to address issues that are impacting the student's ability to be successful in the classroom. And John and Shirley, just a shout out to them, they just won URI's Inclusive Excellence Award at our yearly celebration last week. So we're very thankful for their talents. We know supporting students is critical, especially with learning loss for post-COVID. And our Academic Enhancement Center is doing a terrific job as they have created tutoring and learning supports across campus for individuals. This summer, we're launching a summer math program for incoming students, and it's called Level Up. And this grant-funded program is the result of hard work done by the faculty and staff in the math department, University College for Academic Success, College of Engineering, College of Arts and Sciences, and many more. And this again is geared toward helping address COVID learning loss and helping set students up for success here at the University of Rhode Island. I'll end with a final word of thanks to our enrollment management team, to Student Affairs, and to all the colleges for their exceptional work with our 3 welcome days, the success of which is showing up in the increased deposits year over year. And with that, I think we're very hopeful that we will meet our enrollment target by May 1st. So it's been a great community effort, and glad that we have the team that we do during these interesting times. Thank you.
Hey, Barbara, thank you. I'm sure we've got questions from the committee, so I'm not sure I can see everyone, but if I can't see you, just speak up. Charlie?
Neil, this is Joe Matthews.
Okay.
Barb, a question on how large is the leadership committee that you have for the events that are going on that meets 2 or 3 times a week?
We have about, without sitting here and counting on my fingers, 8 to 10 people who are part of that group.
It's just a tremendous demand on resources. And so thank you for your proactive events. Thank you.
Agreed. Monica, I think you're up next.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Provost Wolf, thank you for the report out. Question for you. When students leave, during the academic year, do we have a way to, we conduct anything like an exit interview to really understand those student specific needs, or is it more kind of general buckets of what we're seeing people leave for?
Yeah, I'm going to actually turn to Dean LaBeauty, see if he's here, and he can certainly chime in. Some of that we have information from the colleges. They might know why people leave. But Dean, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Monica.
Hi.
You've heard about our early alert team, right? That's one example of connecting with students who are not showing up for class, struggling. In addition, when students, we do through advisors and also a leave of absence form, begin to kind of connect that data of why people are leaving, why they're struggling as well. It's really done in a lot of different systems. So the challenge sometimes is kind of connecting all that in. One thing we also do, you should all know, is we also do a project re-enrollment where we work really hard with students who've taken some time off from school looking to come back. And so the idea is learning from early alert, advisors, the leave of absence form, and others, as well as kind of that readmission to understand what are some of our themes of why people drop out or stop out. And then the final thing I just will always add is we always track whether they're still in college when they leave us and where they're going. And that's when we look to kind of, sometimes they may say, gee, I'm looking for a different opportunity, but when they're going home to a home state institution, sometimes there are financial factors that we'll see through where they're enrolling in some of their decision making.
Okay.
Thank you, Dean.
Other questions for Barbara? I've got one, and it's also related, Dean and Barbara, to retention. We tend to know that the retention rates can be challenging on sort of both ends of the bell curve. the students that are, particularly challenged get and should get a lot of attention. But we also worry about the best students who decide that they're going to leave the institution, maybe not exclusively because of thinking that they can graduate from what they believe to be a higher prestige place. Sometimes they're worried, and they're pretty frank about not being challenged sufficiently. So, what do you know about that second end of the bell curve, about the really strong students?
So, Provost Wolf, if it's okay, I can start that. And if you
Sure.
So we monitor this closely. We are not seeing students leave URI and transfer to institutions with a higher ranking. So, for instance, it was always that we always keep an eye on, when they came in, what was their incoming criteria? How did they do at URI? And if they leave us, where they're transferring to. So we actually don't see that. However, I will say, yesterday, Ellen Reynolds, I believe she might have been on, we went to our leadership minor program and we saw those students graduating from the leadership program. We do a lot of great programs here. When I think about the undergraduate research work we're doing, when I think about the academic excellence award. So what's really nice is we're working very hard to make sure we are motivating and engaging high achieving students. Ryan Scholars, Varecchia Scholars, Schilling Scholars, the work that we do in the honors program. So we spend a lot of effort in really making sure that students feel welcomed and challenged here. And what's nice is we are not seeing top students leaving to go to an Ivy school or others, and that's something that we do monitor. Now, we do lose high achieving students for the same reasons we lose other students struggling: financial, sense of belonging, mental health, and others. But I'm pleased to say that we are not a pass through to a greater institution school where some schools see a massive transfer out of students going to that next tier. And I really like to commend our faculty, honors, research, leadership, student affairs, and others. And that's our fastest growing population. So we're really working hard to make sure we're giving them those excellent experiences.
Good, great, thanks, Dean. Barb, do you want to add anything to that, or?
No, I saw that Chris had her hand up, so I didn't know if it's a new question
Yeah, I
or.
can't. Let's see. But sure, I just can't see.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Chris Bovey. So I've talked to several students recently, Rhode Island students, who say so many of their colleagues or their friends from high school went out of state, spent all this time applying to other colleges, and are now back in Rhode Island, presumably for the same reasons, be closer to family and that sort of thing. I just wondered, are you seeing any increases in sort of that transfer, kind of people transferring back to Rhode Island, those in-state students? I know they don't bring in as much money, but I just wondered if that is a piece of it.
Yes. So, Dr. Bovey, great question. We always see a large percentage of our in-state students transfer back to URI. Well, of course, we have the ones who come through JAA and other programs through CCRI, but we always have those, what I call the greener pasture schools. I can't wait to go down south, and they're immediately back with us in January. I can't wait to try warmer weather. I can't wait to. So that is a very common occurrence. We're not seeing an uptick in that, but it is common for Rhode Islanders to sometimes spread their wings and then look to come back. We have over 70% of our transfers are from Rhode Islanders, many of them from other states, and we receive Rhode Island transfer students from over 100 institutions every year. So great question of, there's no place like home, but you remember when you're 17 and 18 years old, you want to be everywhere, anywhere but home. And so it's nice to see that we work very hard to welcome our students back in all majors, including, what's great is we've even opened up our transfer portal to pharmacy. So Chris, great question, but not increasing, but always a common trend.
That last comment is really interesting. I mean, the one thing that they and their parents probably have in common is that they don't want them home either. So, it's an interesting. I'm really pleased to hear that Rhode Island reclaims a large number of students from other places. That speaks well to what we're doing.
Again, I just a
Okay.
shout out to
Yeah.
both Dean and his team, as well as to the colleges. The highest enrollment or highest applications ever were at 28,000. And that's actually just amazing. And it's really the work of a
Yeah.
lot of people, and kudos to everybody. But if I'm going to do my inner Dean voice, it's yield, yield, yield. And that's what we're
Yeah.
focused on now.
Yeah, and if I can just add one other thing, seeing there's an opportunity to. Rhode Island does not do a good job of keeping our highest achieving students in state. One more time, Rhode Island does not do a good job of keeping our highest achieving students in state. If they do not attend URI, the vast majority leave the state and do not come back. And so we have some great incentive programs out there to keep folks over to certain schools, but I've identified to the governor's office my concern that if we want to keep talent in Rhode Island, we need to make sure we provide opportunities for top students to stay in Rhode Island. And families get frustrated when they see, well, gee, I see I can get a free program here. And so the good news is we're number one for our top achieving students in terms of them attending. But if they're not coming here, they're often leaving Rhode Island. And that's something that I'd love to fix. And I'm trying to work on the governor's office with that.
Great. Okay. All right. Any other questions for Barbara?
Yeah. Hey, Neil.
Yes.
Margot. Question for Barb and Dean. The welcome days seems like first of all, it seems like it's new in the size of it and the breadth of what we did. So congratulations on that. It seems like it was 3 amazing days. Do you have a sense of the demographics of who came, and are we in some ways, to your point, Dean, getting to other students that might have gone someplace else, or like what is the welcome day? Is it helping to push somebody over the edge that was sort of teetering on a decision, or is it getting to a new or different cohort that we're trying to attract?
So I'm going to actually turn it over to Dean because they did a lot of revamping of this year's Welcome Day. And I think it's actually done very well for us. So Dean.
Sure. So we've always had admitted student days or welcome days, but we had them in a very casual, come just chat with people vibe. This year, we led off with one of our greatest assets, our president, Mark. So President Parlange set the stage of, you are about to hear about a school with momentum. Wall Street Journal, #1, R1, First in Family, achievement in athletics, achievement in the classroom, faculty. And then we actually did for the first time a very strong direct sell of who we are and what we have to offer. We had 3 amazing students and an award-winning faculty member part of that. That then led to our colleagues, Dr. Bovey and others, talking about academics up on campus. They came down for a huge fair and others. I can tell you what has changed. #1, we spent a lot of time courting students from all over and our high achieving students. The president hosted a breakfast for some of our high achieving students. It was a home run. We also, don't forget, had the Ryan Varecchia, but now the Schilling Scholarship. We had students coming in from Oregon, Washington, California, Pennsylvania, Montana, beyond just New England. You know, and to give you an example of our Schilling Scholarship, we have yielded 25 Schilling Scholars from 12 different states representing 18 STEM majors. That's a different university than who we were 5 to 7 years ago. And so these welcome days have a much more direct, here's who we are, here's our values, meet our faculty. Our arts and sciences faculty gave classes, engineering did experiments. And so it was a much more direct sell rather than I would call a sleepy open house. And we saw a direct increase in deposits on that day where people said, I'm just going to give up now. We're not going to go see another school next week. Let me, what's called, ring the cowbell, pay a deposit, and take a picture with roadies. So I really want to thank Mark and Barb and Markeisha and Ellen Reynolds and several of our senior leaders who really stepped up to provide a sell in a way we never have. So just an example of how we're trying to change to be excellent and really sell the message of who we have, and it's paying off.
That's fantastic. Yeah, like we're on our front foot and we're accelerating with the success we've had, and it's proactive, and I think it's fantastic.
Good. Well, I agree with that. Barb, anything else to add?
No, I think we're looking forward to the numbers coming in, and we will keep you updated.
Great. Okay, our next agenda item is the report of our Chief Research Officer. Bethany, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you all. Good afternoon, and I would say I think everybody probably on this call is aware that the environment around research and sort of the relationship to our federal funders has been somewhat challenging. And I will say there's nothing like a challenge to get our profound leadership to really step up. So really want to thank Mark and Barb and the other members of this task force that have been meeting tirelessly to help the university be positioned to be as resilient as possible. And I meet regularly with other research leaders at APLU institutions, and I have to say on so many levels we're ahead of the curve. So that's really leadership decisions that I'm very grateful for. Our faculty are incredible. Our research active faculty have been writing and submitting proposals at the same rate they were last year. So the energy is up to compete for research. And right now we have $330 million in submitted proposals in FY25. So, we have faculty that are continuing to push to do the work that they are so committed to doing. And the one message I have for everybody on this call as you hear the chatter and read the news, I think something that the media has done a poor job of covering is they make it sound like the federal government is just handing universities money, and that's so far from the case. These monies are competed for, they're peer reviewed. Our faculty compete nationally for each and every one of these NIH and NSF, among other agencies, awards. So the monies that the university depends on for research is actually hard won on the backs of our faculty that are writing these grants. So I really want to just, again, we're trying to do everything we can to support our faculty at this time. A couple of things. URI has not been immune from having some of its grant awards terminated, both by agencies that are kind of across the board. We had the USAID portfolio that was a terminated portfolio. We've had a few National Institute of Health grants terminated. We've had Department of Homeland Security subawards to Centers of Excellence terminated. So one DoD subaward. So that makes it really hard to predict how this is going to happen. And I think everybody has also seen that we're in a landscape of agencies trying to cap their facilities administrative rates to universities that are negotiated on the basis of real data with the federal government. And right now that cap from the National Institute of Health is legally enjoined and there was a recent communication that the Department of Energy is doing the same thing. And so again, these facilities and administrative costs support research. They support facilities infrastructure that's critical to research, as well as administrative support to run our funded research portfolio. So those are all real impacts to the research landscape, but critical to the university. And again, through our team, we're working very well to help the university to the best of our ability, weather this current era of some of these cuts. We are getting, and I'll report to the full board more detail, but we're getting ready for our research awards ceremony. So we'll be highlighting some of these outstanding researchers. And this is an area that brings me to my second agenda, which is the update of the metrics of success and planning with the Research Foundation. So we're partnering with the Research Foundation for the IP part of these awards. We recognize patent holders and also celebrate the the IP expertise in the college. And again, that the Research Foundation is the home of URI's IP. And so we're working with them to really elevate that and celebrate that at our upcoming award ceremony. And working with URI leadership, we're still looking at the strategic alignment of the Research Foundation, its statutory mission to be the home of URI's IP, innovation and intellectual property, for IP being shorthand for intellectual property. And so working very closely with President Parlange, Abby Benson, who are the other members of the Research Foundation board, to kind of look at that alignment. So we continue to do a lot of work on that front, but our energies right now have really been focused on trying to help our PIs be the incredibly successful researchers that they are.
Bethany, thank you. Same members of the committee or our guests, any questions for Bethany? I commend you on what might be the greatest understatement I've heard all year, and that working with the federal government is somewhat challenging. I mean, what I hear from colleagues around the country is just beyond belief, frankly. And but in any event, I sense a very calm, deliberative approach to working with this for URI, and I think that's reassuring to everybody on the board. Any questions again for Bethany? Okay. If not, we have two discussion items very closely related. One is the annual review of the Academic Affairs and Research Committee charter, which was enclosed with our agenda, and the related annual review of the Academic Affairs and Research Committee calendar, which is designed to ensure that every one of our critical agenda items or charter items is discussed at some point by this committee and then reported appropriately to the full board. I've reviewed both. We've done some work on the calendar over the last couple of years. The charter, which was originally drafted when the board came into existence, is held up, I believe, pretty well. But I'll open it to the floor for any member of the committee that would like to discuss, possible change in either one. Okay. If there was going to be any change in either one of these there is procedure for the board to follow to make the change. And since we don't have any suggestions or recommendations, then I believe we can move on to our next item. The next item is to move to executive session. May I have a motion that the committee convene into executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42-46 5A7 for a discussion regarding a matter related to the question of investment of public funds, which includes any investment plan or matter related thereto, where the premature disclosure would adversely affect the public interest, specifically research support from partner organizations, and Rhode Island General Legislation 42-46-5A12 for a discussion regarding potential litigation and related to the question of the investment of public funds thereto. Funds where the premature disclosure would be adversely affected or adversely affect the public interest. So can I have a motion to move to executive session for consideration of those two items?
Monica Garn, so moved.
Thank you.
Joseph Matthews, second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion in the motion? All right. If not, I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor, say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. Any abstentions? All right, the motion carries unanimously, and we will now convene into executive session for the reasons specified. We anticipate the executive session will last approximately 30 minutes, after which the committee will reconvene into open session. The live stream will be paused during executive session and will remove when the executive session has ended and the committee reconvenes in open session. For those participating via WebEx, please confirm saying yes that no other person is present and are able to hear the discussion at the remote location.
Yes.
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 Okay. If you do not automatically move to the breakout session, join the session when prompted on your computer screen by clicking the Join Now button. Attendees not participating in the executive session will be moved to our waiting room.
We are now back in open session. Thank you. Neil, I think you're on mute.
So much for my announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah, may I have a motion that the minutes of the executive session be sealed?
Charlie Fogarty, so
Yeah.
moved.
Thank you, Charlie.
Monica Garn,
Second.
second.
Thank you, Monica. Is there any discussion of the motion? All right, there being no discussion, ask for a voice vote. All in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed? No. Any abstentions? The motion is approved. All right, we now move on to agenda item number 4, action items. The first is the approval of awarding a posthumous academic degree at our spring 2025 commencement and recommendations thereto to the URI Board of Trustees. And I'll ask Provost Wolf to provide some background on this.
Sure, thank you. So we're requesting the approval of the Board of Trustees for the awarding of a posthumous academic degree to Mr. Nicholas D'Antilio, who passed away while here at URI, a student at URI. And again, that's in the College of the Environment and Life Sciences. And his major was environmental and animal studies. So we are requesting that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion that the committee recommend that the board approve the awarding of a posthumous degree at the spring commencement in 2025 to Mr. Nicholas D'Antilio, College of Environmental and Life Sciences, as recommended in our enclosure?
Joseph Matthews, so moved.
Can I have a second?
Monica Garn, second.
Thank you, Monica. I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor, please say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Any abstentions? The motion carries unanimously. We also now have the approval of awarding undergraduate, graduate degrees, diplomas, certificates, and honors. Prior to a motion to that effect, I'll ask Barbara Wolf to once again give us some background, if there is any.
Great, sure. So this is, let's see, 3,378 degrees that we anticipate being completed, 133 certificates. So a total of 3,144 students will be involved, 480 grad students and 2,664 undergraduate students.
Great, okay. Okay, so may I have a motion that the committee recommend that the board approve the awarding of undergraduate and graduate degrees, diplomas, certificates, and honors to be conferred by the president to the candidates who will have completed their requirements at the conclusion of the spring 2025 term and who are approved by the faculty of the University of Rhode Island as recommended and presented in the enclosure.
Charlie Fogarty, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Monica Garn, second.
I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? The motion is unanimously approved. Now, the next item is always a source of great stress for the chair. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Charlie Fogarty, Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Thank you, Charlie. A second?
Joseph Matthews, second.
Thank you, Joe. Any discussion of the motion? No discussion. I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All
Yes.
opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimously approved.